Okay, so have you ever thought about like roof cleaning? I know, it doesn't exactly sound like the most thrilling thing in the world, but
It is important, though.
oh yeah, and today we're going to do a deep dive into it and talk about way more than just keeping things tidy. We're talking about how the condition of your roof can actually like affect your insurance premiums, home inspection.
Even the value of your house?
Oh yeah, all that. So stick with us. You with me?
Absolutely. And I think a good place to start is understanding how insurance companies are using technology these days.
Oh, okay. So they're not just sending like a guy with a clipboard out there to.
No, no, those days are gone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're getting high tech.
Okay. So like drones, are we talking like
Yeah, drones.
little drones with Sherlock Holmes hats flying around?
Well, not quite Sherlock Holmes hats, but they are using drones, satellite imagery,
Wow.
and even AI to spot potential problems on roofs. Yeah, it's all about assessing risk more precisely, you see. And for homeowners, this can be a good thing or a bad thing, just depending on what kind of shape their roof is in.
I see. Okay. So, okay, say my roof is looking, um, I don't know, lived in, we'll say.
Sure.
What kind of like red flags are these like high-tech tools going to be picking up?
So one of the biggest things that they look for is moss and algae growth.
Okay.
Now, you might think, it's just a little green, it's not a big deal. But for insurance companies, that's like waving a giant red flag
Yeah.
because it's a sign of potential moisture problems, which can lead to, big repair bills down the line.
Ah, so they're not just like being nitpicky about like the looks. They're really thinking about like long-term health of the roof and I guess ultimately their wallets.
Exactly, yeah. Think of it this way, like if a roof is constantly damp, over time, it's more likely to have shingle damage, rot, leaks,
Right.
and that can snowball into some major expenses that insurance companies would just rather avoid altogether. So they take moss and algae very, very seriously.
So let me guess, if their drones spot a mossy mess up there, I could be looking at higher premiums or even worse, the dreaded "we're dropping you" letter.
Yeah, that is a definite possibility.
Okay.
And, it's not just insurance companies that are concerned about a roof with moss and algae.
Oh, okay.
Think about potential buyers.
Right, yeah,
They're looking for a well-maintained home, right?
right.
And a roof that looks neglected, that sends a pretty strong signal that maybe the whole property's been neglected.
Right, it's kind of like that first date outfit. You really want to make a good impression.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. A
Right.
clean roof signals that the house has been taken care of, and that can make a big difference when it comes to getting an offer.
Right, yeah. And what about lenders?
Oh yeah, lenders, they care too.
Do they care about the moss too?
Yeah, they want to make sure their investment is protected, and if they see a roof that looks like it's in rough shape, they might hesitate to approve a mortgage.
So it's not just keeping up with the Joneses here. We're talking about real, like, financial implications.
Absolutely.
Wow, okay, I'm starting to get a little anxious about my own roof.
Did a panic.
I know, I know. But before I spiral, tell me about this soft washing method I keep hearing about. What is that all about?
So soft washing, this is the gentler and more effective way to deal with all that roof grime.
Okay.
It's specifically designed to remove moss and algae and even those black streaks you see on roofs sometimes without harming the shingles themselves.
Oh, okay. Speaking of those black streaks, I've always wondered what causes them.
It's actually, believe it or not, a type of bacteria.
What? Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was just like
No.
dirt.
It's bacteria. It feeds on the limestone filler that's in asphalt shingles.
Wow, okay.
And they might not seem like a big deal at first, but over time they can actually weaken the shingles,
Really?
making them more susceptible to damage from wind, hail, all that stuff.
So, okay, wait. So those streaks aren't just ugly. They're a sign that my roof is basically being eaten by like tiny microbes.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
And this is where soft washing really shines, right? Because it uses specialized solutions to break down all that stuff, the moss, the algae, the bacteria, without needing that harsh pressure washing.
Okay, so no pressure washing my roof?
No, no.
Got it. Okay. But what about all those like horror stories you hear about people trying to, DIY their roof cleaning and just ending up causing more harm than good?
Yeah, well, roof cleaning might seem straightforward on the surface, but it's actually more complicated than you think. It requires a certain level of expertise. You need the right equipment. Like you said, pressure washing, that's a disaster waiting to happen.
Okay.
Because those powerful jets of water can actually strip away those protective granules on your shingles.
Yeah.
And then you're really in trouble.
Okay.
Because once those granules are gone, it's like they lose their armor. They're just exposed and vulnerable to all the elements.
Oh, wow. So not only am I risking damaging my roof if I try to DIY it, but I also read that it can void, like, the roof's warranty.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So you're really, yeah, you're messing with a lot there.
Yeah, you're not just risking damage, you're losing any future protection from the manufacturer. It's just not worth the risk.
Okay, good to know. Now, I know you mentioned this earlier, but I'm really curious about those folks in Strongsville, Don and Evelyn. They had all those tomato and date plants growing near their roof, and the soft washing crew managed to clean everything without harming like a single leaf.
I know. It's amazing, right? It shows just how precise and gentle this soft washing method can be. It's safe for your roof, your landscaping,
Everything.
everything, even your prize-winning tomatoes.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. So if my roofs could talk, what would it tell me about, like, the overall health of my house?
Oh, that's a great question.
Just something I've always wondered.
Maybe it would talk about all the storms it's weathered, the sunny days it's basked in, maybe even offer a little nudge to go clean those gutters.
Yeah, maybe. I love that. Okay, so we've talked about roof care, insurance, home value, even those tiny, little microbes that are just munching away on our shingles.
We've only scratched the surface, though.
Okay, great. Well, buckle up, listeners, because next time we're going to be diving deeper into the world of roof maintenance. We'll be exploring those dangers of DIY cleaning in more detail, and we'll uncover what we're calling the hidden villain that could be slowly but surely destroying your roof. So stay tuned.
It's kind of funny how something as simple as roof cleaning, right? It can actually reveal a lot about how a homeowner approaches, like, all their maintenance.
Oh, yeah, it's true. It's like a little window into their philosophy of homeownership.
Exactly, exactly.
And speaking of DIYers, those people we talked about earlier,
Right.
I think it's worth kind of digging a little deeper into why pressure washing a roof is just a terrible idea.
Well, it's never a good idea.
Okay.
Imagine, like, you have this beautiful, intricately woven tapestry.
Okay.
Would you ever try to point it with a fire hose?
No way. That sounds disastrous.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's essentially what you're doing when you use a pressure washer on a roof. Those powerful jets of water, I mean, they can literally blast away the protective granules that coat your shingles.
Okay. And those granules, those are important, right?
Oh, they're crucial. They're not just there for decoration.
Okay.
They act like a shield, protecting the underlying asphalt from UV radiation, hail, even just everyday wear and tear.
So once those are gone, is that it?
Once those granules are gone, your shingles are basically naked, exposed and vulnerable.
Oh, okay. So it's like stripping away their armor and leaving them defenseless.
Exactly. It's a great analogy. And it's not just about, like, the immediate damage. Over time, those weakened shingles can become brittle, they crack, they curl, and then you start getting leaks. And then that leads to a whole cascade of other problems.
Right. So all because, someone thought they could save a few bucks by renting a pressure washer from, the local hardware store.
Right, exactly. Penny wise and pound foolish.
Yeah, exactly.
And plus, as we mentioned before, using a pressure washer can actually void your roof's warranty. So you're not just risking damage, you're potentially losing any future protection from the manufacturer.
Right. It's really just not worth the risk. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about another roof villain, moss. I'm curious, like, why is it so much more than just an aesthetic nuisance? What makes it so destructive to our roofs?
Well, think of moss as like this tiny, tenacious little plant with an unquenchable thirst for moisture. It just loves damp environments. It has this amazing ability to retain water, so it creates this constantly moist environment on your roof, and that obviously is bad news for your shingles.
Okay, yeah, so that constant moisture, that seeps into the cracks and crevices in the shingles.
Exactly, yeah. It causes them to deteriorate over time. And then if you live in a colder climate where it freezes, the water trapped by that moss, it freezes, it expands, and it just makes those cracks even wider. And then, yeah, you start to see leaks.
Oh, wow. So it's really not just about the moss itself. It's about this chain reaction that it sets off.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a silent saboteur, just slowly undermining the integrity of your roof.
Exactly. And, it's not just the shingles that suffer. Moss can also wreak havoc on your gutters, clogging them up with its dense, spongy growth, preventing the water from draining properly. And then you get water backing up, overflowing, and that can damage your fascia boards, soffits, even your siding.
So it's like a domino effect. One problem just leads to another, and before you know it,
Exactly.
your whole house is falling apart.
Right.
And it's all because of this, seemingly harmless little green moss.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Well, it's a good reminder that even small problems, they can have big consequences if they're ignored, right?
Absolutely.
Now, what about those those black streaks that we keep mentioning, are those just as, I don't know, are they as problematic as moss, or are they more of a cosmetic issue?
Well, they're not as immediately destructive as moss, but they're definitely something you want to address. Remember, those streaks are caused by a type of bacteria that actually feeds on the limestone filler in asphalt shingles.
Right, so it's not just dirt or grime.
No,
It's actual bacteria eating my roof.
it is. Yeah, they're munching away on your roof. And while it might not cause leaks right away, this slow, steady attack can weaken those shingles over time, making them more susceptible to damage from wind, hail, all those elements.
It's like a silent epidemic spreading across my roof.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much. And aesthetically speaking, of course, those streaks can really detract from your home's curb appeal.
Right,
They can make even a well-maintained house look neglected,
right.
which can impact its value, make it less appealing to potential buyers.
So it's not just about, like, vanity here.
Right.
We're talking about protecting your investment and the overall health of your roof.
Exactly. And luckily, soft washing can effectively remove both moss and those black streaks, restoring your roof's original color, protecting it from further damage.
Okay, so it's a win-win. Healthier roof and a house that looks its best.
Exactly. Now, let's shift gears for a second
Okay?
and talk about something that's becoming increasingly important in the world of roof cleaning, and that is sustainability.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I know our listeners are, they're really passionate about that. So how is the roof cleaning industry, how are they adapting to this growing demand for, eco-friendly practices?
Well, one of the biggest changes has been a shift towards using biodegradable, phosphate-free cleaning solutions. These solutions, they're just as effective at removing all that stuff, the moss, the algae, the black streaks, but they don't pose the same risks to the environment as those harsher chemicals that were commonly used in the past.
Right, so gentler on plants, animals, and our waterways.
Absolutely. And some companies are going a step further. They're using reclaimed water for their cleaning processes, which obviously helps to conserve our precious water resources.
That's fantastic. It sounds like the roof cleaning industry is really making strides, really trying to be more sustainable.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So if you're considering having your roof cleaned, be sure to ask potential companies about their sustainability practices.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's a great way to not only, protect your home, but also the planet. Okay. Now let's talk about another important aspect of roof maintenance, inspections.
Okay.
Not the most glamorous topic,
Right.
but definitely essential. So how often should homeowners be having their roofs inspected?
Well, the general recommendation is at least once a year, preferably in the spring or fall when the weather's mild. This allows you to kind of catch any potential problems early on before they have a chance to, escalate into something bigger.
Right. It's like going to the dentist for a checkup. A little preventative care can save you from bigger problems down the road.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So just like a dentist, they check for cavities, gum disease. A roof inspector, what are they looking for?
So they'll be checking for things like missing, cracked, or curled shingles, loose or damaged, flashing, signs of water damage, leaks. And they're also going to look for any evidence of pest infestation, make sure those critters aren't making your roof their home.
Right, right.
And they'll also be inspecting the condition of your gutters and downspouts, making sure they're functioning properly, free of debris. So it's really a thorough examination of your entire roofing system.
Wow. So what happens if they do find a problem during this inspection? What are the next steps?
Well, that really depends on the severity of the problem. If it's something minor, like a few loose shingles, maybe a small area of damage, you might be able to handle the repair yourself, maybe hire a handyman. But if it's something more serious, like extensive water damage, structural issues, widespread shingle deterioration, then you definitely want to call in a qualified roofing contractor.
Right. And choosing the right contractor, that's crucial, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You don't want to just trust your roof to anyone.
Right. You want to make sure they're licensed, insured, have a good track record, and make sure they're experienced in dealing with the specific type of issue that you're facing.
Okay. So any tips on how to find a trustworthy roofing contractor?
Well, you can start by asking for recommendations, from friends, family, neighbors who have had positive experiences with roofers in the past.
Okay.
You can check online reviews, ratings to get a sense of a company's reputation, and then, of course, get multiple quotes from different contractors before making a decision.
Right. Always a good idea to shop around, do your research.
Exactly.
Okay. So to sum it up, regular roof inspections are crucial, right? Catch those potential problems early on. And if you do find a problem, address it promptly, hire a qualified professional if necessary.
Exactly.
And I know we've said this a bunch of times, but, preventative maintenance, that's always the best approach when it comes to your roof. Save you a lot of headaches and expense in the long run.
Absolutely.
And speaking of preventative maintenance, let's talk about something that often gets overlooked. Attic ventilation.
Ah, yes. Attic ventilation, often the unsung hero of roof health.
So why is it so important? What role does it play in protecting our roofs?
So think about it this way. During the summer, your attic, it can get incredibly hot, like a giant oven baking under that hot sun.
Yeah.
And without proper ventilation, that heat can radiate down onto your roof, causing your shingles to bake and deteriorate prematurely.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So good attic ventilation, it helps to keep that heat from building up in the first place. Proper ventilation, it allows for continuous airflow. It draws in cool air from outside and then expels that hot, humid air from the attic.
Right. So it's like regulating the temperature up there.
Exactly, keeping it closer to the temperature outside.
And that helps to protect your roof from heat damage.
Right, and it's not just about heat. Proper ventilation also helps to prevent moisture buildup in your attic because that excess moisture can lead to, mold growth, wood rot, and it can even attract pests.
Right. Nobody wants that.
So yeah, it's kind of a two-for-one deal. Good ventilation protects your roof from both heat and moisture damage.
Wow. Okay.
And as a bonus, it can even help to improve your home's energy efficiency.
Really?
Yeah, because a cooler attic puts less strain on your air conditioning system.
So it's good for your roof, good for your home, and good for your wallet.
Exactly, yeah. Now, there are two main types of attic ventilation.
Okay.
You have passive and active.
Okay, let's break those down. What's the difference between those two?
So passive ventilation that relies on natural air currents to circulate air through your attic. It typically involves a combination of intake vents, which are usually located along the eaves or soffits, and then exhaust vents, which are typically located near the peak of the roof.
Right, so the cool air comes in through the intake vents, and then the hot air naturally rises and escapes through those exhaust vents.
Exactly. And then active ventilation, on the other hand, that uses powered fans to help circulate air through your attic.
Okay.
And these fans can be solar powered or electrically powered.
Right.
And they can be installed in the roof or in the gable ends of your house.
Okay.
So it's kind of like giving your attic's natural airflow a little boost.
Right. Okay, so how can homeowners determine if their attics are properly ventilated? Like, what should they be looking for?
Well, there are a few things. First, check to see if you have, adequate intake and exhaust vents. If you don't see any vents, or if they seem blocked or inadequate, you might need to have more vents installed.
Okay, and what about the vents themselves? Are there, like, certain types that are better than others?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So for intake vents, soffit vents are generally considered the most effective. They allow air to flow directly into the attic space from beneath the roof decking.
Okay.
And for exhaust vents, ridge vents are often the best choice because they run along the entire length of the roof peak, providing a continuous exhaust pathway.
So soffit vents for intake, ridge vents for exhaust.
Right.
Got it. What else?
You can also check your attic for signs of moisture problems,
Okay, like what?
like mold growth, condensation on the underside of the roof decking, or water stains on the insulation.
Okay, so those are all kind of red flags.
Exactly, yeah. They're signs that your attic might not be properly ventilated. And if you're still not sure, you can always hire a qualified home inspector or energy auditor to come in and take a look and assess your attic ventilation system for you.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. So to recap, proper attic ventilation is crucial for protecting your roof from heat, moisture damage,
Absolutely.
good for your home's energy efficiency,
Absolutely.
and it can help prevent a whole host of other problems down the road.
Exactly.
And if you have any doubts about your attic's ventilation system, don't hesitate to, seek professional guidance.
Right.
It's a small investment that can pay big dividends in the long run.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about those dangers of, DIY roof cleaning, the destructive power of moss and those black streaks, the importance of regular inspections, attic ventilation.
It's been a very comprehensive deep dive.
It really has. But before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I want to circle back to something you said earlier about, our roofs having these stories to tell, maybe even some warnings.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about it. They've witnessed so much. Storms, sunny days, the changing seasons. They bear the marks of time and weather. They hold a certain wisdom.
I love that. It's almost like they have this silent language that we need to learn to understand.
Exactly. It's about paying attention to those subtle signs, the whispers of wear and tear, the hints of potential problems. They're trying to communicate with us, even if it's not in words.
It's really up to us to be attentive homeowners, right? To heed those silent warnings and to take the necessary steps to keep our roofs healthy and strong. Now, on that note, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll explore how different types of roofs and climates affect maintenance, and we'll delve into the importance of considering the surrounding environment. So stay tuned. Welcome back. I'm really starting to see my roof in a whole new light now. It's not just like something that sits up there. It's a vital part of my home.
It's true. Our roofs protect us. They endure all the elements year after year, and they even add to the look of our homes, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, for sure. But as we've been discussing, not all roofs are created equal. So that brings us to the topic of how different types of roofs and different climates, how that all impacts maintenance.
Right. It's like anything else with home ownership. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. You really need to consider the specific materials, the climate you live in, and even, the surrounding environment to develop the right maintenance plan.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. What are some of the most common, like, roofing materials out there, and how do their maintenance needs differ?
So the most common type that you'll see is asphalt shingles.
Okay,
They're relatively affordable, easy to install, and they come in a wide range of colors and styles.
yeah, those are the ones I have. But I've heard they don't last forever.
That's true. Asphalt shingles typically have a lifespan of about 20 to 30 years, depending on the quality, the climate, and of course the maintenance.
Okay, so regular cleaning, inspections, that's all key to extending their life.
Absolutely. And we've already talked about the importance of soft washing for removing moss, algae, those black streaks. But it's also important to keep an eye out for any signs of damage, like cracked or missing shingles, and have them repaired promptly to prevent, leaks.
Okay, now what about tile roofs? I've always loved the look of tile roofs, especially like on those Spanish-style homes.
Yeah, tile roofs are beautiful and they can last for a very long time, often 50 years or more.
Wow.
They're fire resistant and can withstand strong winds, but they can be more susceptible to cracking or breakage, especially in areas with hailstorms or freezing temperatures.
Right, so it's kind of a trade-off. You get the longevity, the durability, but potentially higher maintenance costs if you live in a more, I don't know, a harder climate.
Right, exactly. And then you have metal roofs, which are becoming increasingly popular these days.
Okay.
They're known for their durability, energy efficiency, and long lifespans. I mean, we're talking 40 to 70 years or more.
Wow, that's amazing. But I imagine they're probably more expensive up front.
Yeah, typically they are, but their longevity and low maintenance requirements can often offset that initial cost over time.
Right, okay. So it's really about weighing the pros and cons of each type of roofing material and choosing the one that best suits your needs, your budget, and your climate.
Exactly. And speaking of climate, that's another really critical factor to consider when it comes to roof maintenance.
Right, because different climates, they pose different challenges for our roofs.
Absolutely. So, for example, if you live in an area with heavy rainfall, you need to be extra vigilant about preventing leaks and ensuring proper drainage.
Okay.
That means making sure your gutters are clean, free of debris, and that the flashing around chimneys, vents, skylights, all that stuff is in good condition.
Okay, so what about coastal areas? Salt spray? I imagine that could be a real problem.
Oh, yeah, it can be a big problem. Salt spray is corrosive. It can damage both metal and asphalt shingles over time. So if you live near the coast, it's really important to rinse your roof off regularly with fresh water to remove any of that salt buildup.
Okay, and what about areas with like extreme temperature swings? That gets really hot and then really cold.
Yeah, that can be a problem too. Those temperature fluctuations can cause the roofing materials to expand and contract, which can lead to cracks and other types of damage. So, yeah, you really have to tailor your maintenance plan to the specific climate conditions that you live in.
Right, so it's like a puzzle, right? You have to take all the pieces, the type of roof, the climate, even the surrounding environment, and put it all together to get the complete picture.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. And speaking of the surrounding environment, let's talk about some of the things in that surrounding environment that can impact roof health.
Okay, like what?
Well, one of the biggest culprits is trees. Overhanging branches, those can scrape against your roof, causing damage to shingles or tiles.
So it's not just about, keeping things looking nice. Regular tree trimming, it's actually essential for the health of your roof.
Absolutely. And then you also have to think about falling leaves and debris. They can clog up your gutters and create that moist environment where moss just loves to grow.
Okay, yeah, so cleaning those gutters regularly, that's another, must do.
Exactly. And if you live near a body of water, you need to be aware of the potential for that salt spray,
Right, right.
which we mentioned can corrode metal roofing and accelerate the deterioration of other types of roofing. So regular cleaning, inspections, extra important in those environments.
Got it.
And then, you also have to think about birds and animals.
Oh, right. Birds nesting in the eaves, squirrels chewing on shingles.
Exactly, yeah. And those critters can cause all sorts of damage. So it's important to take steps to prevent them from, making your roof their home.
So like installing bird guards or maybe trimming back any vegetation that might be giving them easy access to the roof.
Exactly. And if you do notice any signs of, animal activity, it's important to address that problem promptly before it turns into, a bigger issue.
Right, right. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We talked about the science behind soft washing, the silent language of our roofs, the importance of inspections, attic ventilation, and even how the climate and the surrounding environment can affect things.
Been quite a journey.
It really has. I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today, and hopefully a newfound appreciation for their roofs and how to take care of them.
Absolutely. And I hope they've also learned that roof care, it doesn't have to be a chore. It can actually be an opportunity to connect with their homes in a deeper way, to really understand the forces that have shaped them and to ensure their protection for years to come.
That's a great way to put it. I love that. So on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of roof maintenance. A little preventative care goes a long way. Keep those roofs clean, well ventilated, and get those regular inspections. And those roofs will reward you with years of reliable protection. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.